Hello. Relatively recently, I found myself flicking through the library I have on my PS5, looking for a game to play that I hadn't completed or spent too much time with already. I came across something that I bought in a bundle literally years ago, the complete collection of Vermintide: The End Times, a Warhammer fantasy-based game that was all about hacking and slashing Skaven, just infinitely, it seemed. That was a game that I had tried once when I first bought it, and I got into a bit of trouble. I loaded into a game, I glitched into a wall, and the rest of my party ran off and just left me there flailing. I turned off the game and didn't look back. I am now regretting that decision because I decided to play Vermintide, and I played the entire thing. It was absolutely awesome. So this is a very, very cold take, but I've decided to spend a few minutes talking about a game that I had the chance to play for years and just ignored, and now that I've played it, I absolutely love it. I'm Jordan, this is Jordan Sorcery, and today I'm talking all about Vermintide. Okay, before we get into why I had so much fun with this game, let's just talk a little bit about what this game even is, in case you don't know. Vermintide is a cooperative online first-person game set in the Warhammer fantasy world. As the forces of Skaven infiltrate the Empire in huge numbers, you and 3 other players must venture out into the city Ubersreich on various missions to undermine the Skaven war effort, salvage supplies, aid a powerful wizard, and generally cause mayhem amongst the rats. It is technically a first-person shooter, but there is just as much melee combat as anything else, and you can quickly switch between blades, bows, guns, and spells as the hordes of ratmen surround you. It is fast and frenetic, visceral and violent, and it is non-stop fun. In the past, I have played a number of online games to a ridiculous amount. So I loved Destiny and Destiny 2. I played a huge amount. I actually think that the Vault of Glass, the raid that was in the first Destiny game, is one of the best dungeons ever made. And I'm talking about all role-playing games and everything. I just think as a dungeon, a cooperative dungeon experience, it is incredible. It is worthy of a video just breaking it down and discussing it at some point. I would love to make that myself. And I also think the Dreaming City from Destiny 2, which is very Michael Moorcock inspired, is amazing. One of the best levels and worlds, just a huge amount of content to explore, so much replayability, just fantastic visuals and design and gameplay. So although overall Destiny and Destiny 2 were not the greatest games ever, I played a lot of them and I did enjoy my time with them. Right now I play a lot of Dead by Daylight. When I get a few minutes, I will jump on and I will play this asymmetric horror game where you're running around trying to complete generators whilst Michael Myers or the ghost-faced killer from Scream or Freddy Krueger and lots of other inventive killers are trying to capture you and stop you from completing these generators so that you can escape the map. It is an incredible game. I absolutely love it. Like every game, there's bugs and there's complaints and there's all sorts, but it was terrific fun. But I play those games because they are really easy to plug and play. You can jump on, you can do a mission, you can play a match, and then you don't have to think about it again. You can turn off. You could literally do 15 minutes of gameplay, and that is it. It has been a while since I've played a game with a longer narrative or longer levels because I don't often find myself having just that block of time to commit to a video game like I used to. I did complete Ghosts of Tsushima. That was during the lockdown, and I think I found some time to go through that narrative. I had a great time with that. So that is how long ago it has been since I've really sat down to play through a video game that wasn't just an online quick match game. So when I was scrolling through my library, just fancying something different, and I came across this Vermintide bundle that I had purchased and not really used, I found myself thinking, do I want to sit down and play through a big narrative where the missions might run to, I don't know, half an hour long? Do I think I have the time to commit to that? but I also thought I didn't really give this game a fair shot last time, and I love the Warhammer world, and I've only heard good things about Vermintide 2 and Darktide. So I decided to boot it up and try again. And yes, I am really, really glad I did. It is tremendous, tremendous fun. The story of the game is relatively light. Ubersreich is under attack, and 5 heroes, who will become known as the Ubersreich 5, have arrived to stop it. Though there is plenty of Warhammer Fantasy roleplay in the theming and style of the game, these players are inevitably far stronger and more effective than Wolfrup PCs often are, capable of single-handedly wiping out entire armies of Skaven opponents. That said, it never feels like a walk in the park, and the Skaven have some very sneaky tricks up their sleeve, especially when Rattling Gunners or Eshin Assassins get involved. The 5 characters are Victor Saltspire, a human witch hunter, Marcus Kruber, a human Empire soldier, Bardin Gorikson, a dwarf ranger, Carillion, a wood elf waywatcher, and Sienna Fuegonassus, a human bright wizard. Some of the backstories to these characters emerge in the same way as the broader narrative of the game, through organic dialogue and exchanges over the course of missions. There is not a lot of extremely deep lore, at least not in this first game, but what is present made me enjoy spending time with these misfits. Their various jokes and quips, their little bits of backstory and lore, all of it was really good. One thing I was quite curious about making this video was whether or not you would be able to guess which character I played the game through as. Whether I was the Greatsword, the Elf Waywatcher, the Dwarf Ranger, the Witch Hunter, or the Bright Wizard. And I would love you to leave a comment down below to make your guess. So this game was developed by Fatshark, and they started working on it around 2013. It was then released in 2015 on PS5 and other consoles and PC. That was a very difficult time for the Warhammer world. 2015 was when they cancelled Warhammer Fantasy Battle and launched its successor, Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So this game was retooled in some ways to more specifically represent the end times. That is why it has the moniker Vermintide, the end times. Fortunately for me, seeing as I'm not the biggest fan of the end times narrative, that is really a light touch when it comes to the narrative and setting for this game. It could more or less be set anytime in Warhammer Fantasy Battle history. Essentially, it is about an empire town, Ubersreich, that has been taken over by Skaven and the resistance who are fighting back. Now sure, the end times-ness of it is just the scale of this invasion. There are Skaven absolutely everywhere, and that is one of the beauties of this game. If you don't enjoy killing Skaven, then you are going to get bored pretty quick. But every single level is full of really interesting level design, cool features, beautiful visuals, and some really rewarding hack-and-slash gameplay. What prevents the game from feeling repetitive is the variety of levels and the wonderful look of each of them. From the gardens of Moor, to the streets of Ubersreich, to the Skaven Under Empire. Everything feels fully fleshed out and part of the wider Warhammer world. And there is loads to see and do in each of those missions, even if you have to slice your way through thousands of ratmen to find stuff. Because this is a game that is really very old, there were no other players available to me to team up with when I started playing it. So you were supposed to do this as a 4-player cooperative adventure. You're going to get your friends together, you're going to play through each level, progress through the narrative. I wasn't able to do that, so I had to use bots instead. They were computer-controlled supporting players. The rest of my squad were made up from these guys. They were actually surprisingly effective, probably surviving things they shouldn't have survived and able to revive me when I shouldn't have been able to be revived. However, these bots have their limitations. You see, they will fight until the end of time. They would keep fighting way through the destruction of the world that was and into the Age of Sigmar because these bots just love to hack and slash. What they do not like doing is completing objectives, which meant that on the levels where you have to do things, you have to pull down levers or carry sacks of grain from one end of a map to another end of a map, or plant explosives to blow up a bridge, all of that sort of stuff I had to do myself, whilst the bots were just sort of milling around. And that didn't mean that it took a bit longer than it should have. It also meant that I missed out on the camaraderie and advancement and all of that sort of good stuff you get from a great multiplayer game. However, I played it on the easiest setting because I just wanted to experience the world and experience the game, and I had so much fun doing that. I was really impressed by just how much like the Warhammer world this game felt, which I think is largely due to the care taken to replicate the look and feel of everything, and the spirit of it as well. The look and shape of different buildings, and the way in which they're put together, the way the maps are designed, and the sort of crooked streets and things like that. All of it has this very Warhammer Fantasy roleplay feel, like you are in the same places you would play through if you're in the role-playing game. And on top of that, the musical score does tremendous work here as well. If you want some absolutely brilliant ambience for when you're playing the Old World or Woofrup, then look no further than Jesper Kid's remarkable score. Really tremendous stuff. An iconic theme that I think will be associated with Warhammer for a long time. Many of the levels are quite simple and similar in their design. Essentially, you're making your way from the start point to the end point, and between them, there are just tons and tons and tons of Skaven. Loads and loads of clan rats that are dead easy to kill. You're just hacking and slashing your way through them, but the weight of numbers can overwhelm you if you're not careful. Then you've got the stronger storm vermin who have heavy armor and are harder to kill. There are special troops like the Poison Wind Globadiers, and of course there are huge rat ogres that can come bounding towards you across the map and just bash you around, and they are amazing. They look so good, and taking one down is a huge fight, and it feels so satisfying. It's such a great moment in the game, especially when there are then hordes of Skaven coming from every direction. And what really makes these levels so great is just the world, the attention to detail that exists across this interpretation of the Warhammer world is so great. It does feel like you're walking along the streets of an Empire city, and that there are so many just amazing things to see that look like they are straight out of the game. You can tell that the terrain that was available for Warhammer Fantasy Battle was being used to influence how buildings were designed and how details were added to buildings and all sorts of stuff. So it is really, really nice to just walk around and soak up these surroundings, when you're not fighting against hundreds of Skaven, and you're just like, wow, this is cool. This is the Warhammer world, and I'm able to walk around in it. And it just looks great, and it feels really fun. And then there are other missions that have slightly more complex objectives, the ones that I said the bots don't help you with. And that might be because you need to feed the resistance that's still fighting against the Skaven invasion. So you'll need to pick up grain and carry it across the marketplace and get it back to your cart so that it can be ferried to the resistance fighters. Or you might actually be in your tavern where you get your missions and it gets overwhelmed by Skaven, and it's just this huge fight within that. Or there is an awesome mission where you're making your way through a wizard's tower, and all of the sort of geography, the magical geography and geometry of this tower is completely... It's magical traps that mean that things are on the floor and the ceiling. You're traveling up and down, and the sort of the geographical space doesn't make sense anymore. And yes, a lot of that is just, it's just the way that the level has been, the paint, the wallpaper that's on the level design. But it feels really themey. It feels like you're part of the world. Actually, in some levels, there are portraits and paintings that are John Blanche art, and it just looks really cool. It looks like this is a painting from within the Warhammer world, and it's so great. Levels that I really loved included just one of the earliest levels, maybe the first level even, where you're making your way up this extremely rickety tower, where there is this enormous horn of Magnus that you need to blow in order to alert the citizens of the city. And it was really, really cool. Again, just being able to look out onto this Empire town, this Empire city, it was fantastic. There are DLCs that they released as well, where you could go through the Castle Drachenfels, and there is a level where it plunged into complete darkness. You need to pick up torches in order to see your way through this really creepy castle. There is an amazing mode where it's just wave after wave after wave of Skaven. And you just need to defend your position as long as you can. And it is based in this fortress of Schlüsselschloss, which is a really cool, I believe it's from Wolfrup. I think it might be the 3rd edition. According to Lexicanum, there is actually a citation for it, which is awesome. I think so many details like that have been taken from different products and releases of Warhammer over the years in order to give this a really authentic feel. It feels like fatshark have done amazing work to really make this game, Vermintide, feel like it's in the Warhammer world. They've drawn on so much. The final DLC that was released is called Death on the Reich, and it takes place along the banks of the Reich, and then on the Reich, when you actually get onto a boat, and you are attacked on all sides by Skaven ships that resemble the man of war ships that used to be available. And there are just waves and waves and waves of Skaven. It was so hard, even though I was playing on the easiest setting. It took me so many goes, as it should, because it was the final mission, and it was just brilliant. Really satisfying, really good fun. The bundle that I guess I bought a few years back actually included all of the DLC expansions that had been released, which meant that I was able to play not just through the full base game, but also missions into Castle Drachenfels, across Stormdorf, down into the dwarf hold of Karak Asgaraz, and along the banks of the Reich. There were also some extra bits added that apparently set up the storyline for the sequel, which I think is pretty cool. Oh, and one very fun mystery in the game is a sort of subtle secret identity that may exist for the Resistance guy who offers you the missions, the Innkeeper. There are plenty of clues that suggest he either knows or actually is Morgan Bernhard, the leader of the Grudgebringers from Shadow of the Horned Rat and Dark Omen. It is an inspired little conspiracy that is easy to miss, but which is precision engineered to appeal to obsessive nerds like me. I don't even really know why I felt so compelled to talk about this game. I guess just because I really did play it for fun. I wasn't intending to make any content about it, but I just enjoyed myself so much playing it. I found myself looking forward to it and going, I've got time to play another mission of Vermintide, and I can't wait. And it was that classic, like back in the day when you were playing, I don't know, Shadow of the Horned Rat or something like that, and it would be bedtime, and you would just think, I'll just do one more mission. I'll just push it a little bit further because I'm that excited. It felt like that again, and I just had a really fun time. So I thought I would talk about it a little bit. I know there's basically no value to this, because anybody who's going to play Vermintide has probably already played it, unless, like me, you overlooked it and just walked away. But I guess it's a love letter to Vermintide and to fatshark, the developers. I just want to say thank you, because this was awesome. I am so excited now to play Vermintide 2, and I am going to play Darktide. I was thinking, actually, because those games are more recent and still alive, obviously Darktide just came out, which is the 40k equivalent of this game. So I'm hoping that there might even be an option for me to not play with bots. I might play with real people and see what that is like. So that's very fun. And Vermintide 2, I can't wait. I know that there's the introduction of chaos into this, so you get Skaven and chaos enemies. I think potentially even some others. I know you return to Castle Drachenfels, and I believe there is more sort of features and elements from the role-playing game brought into it, which is very exciting to me. And yeah, I think that there were some really inventive levels and sort of ways to get the most out of these very simple mechanics. The fact that you were ultimately just hacking and slashing your way through levels, that could become super boring if you're not enjoying it. If it's just not satisfying on its own, then it could become quite a boring experience. But because it did satisfy me and was fun, that mechanical element, it never got tired for me. So the fact that there's then more to that, they're expanding that and exploring that in new ways, there's new progression trees, I believe. So that's really exciting. I mean, if I had any complaints about the first Vermintide, besides that very first time that I played it and I got stuck in a wall, which was unfortunate, but I guess my only complaints, my only issues really would be the sort of the very nature of the grind. And this is something you see with live service games generally. The games I talked about before, Destiny and Dead by Daylight, they do this as well, where in order to progress, in order to get better equipment, in order to collect various currencies that you need to enhance your character and your equipment, you just have to play and replay and replay and replay the same missions again and again and again. That is fine if it is a vibrant, active community and there's lots of people to play with. If you're just playing with bots and it's 10 years later, it's not as fun to replay missions in quite that same way. You don't want to go and do all of the bounties. You don't want to risk rolling the dice and getting really rubbish loot from missions. There's also, again, because it's multiplayer and designed in that way, there are special tomes that you can collect in the middle of missions. And the more of your party that collect those tomes, the better your rewards are going to be. Obviously, much like the objectives, the bots are really reluctant to pick up tomes or grimoires, which are even scarier because carrying one makes you weaker and more vulnerable. The bots don't want to do that. So that makes it really hard as a solo player in order to sort of get the better rewards in advance and then get stronger. I'm being really super unfair because I was playing a multiplayer game on my own. It's not really designed for that. So that was just an issue that I had, but I guess most people wouldn't because they were playing with other people. And that's what I hope for Vermintide 2, which just had some new DLC a couple of months ago, I think, even though it also is quite old now. So that's really exciting. And Darktide only recently came out. So I think this is going to be a really fun thing. I'm going to try and play these games. Will I talk about them on here? I don't know. Will I even... it crossed my mind to maybe see if I could stream them, but I play on PlayStation 5, so I think you can stream from that, but I don't know how easy it would be for me to set it up, so no guarantees on that. But who knows? I may even speak to my Patreons and see if anybody wants to come and play the games with me and really carry me through some of the missions, because ultimately I'm not very good at video games, but I do enjoy them. So that's all sort of fun stuff to come with Vermintide 2 and Darktide. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about how much I enjoyed playing this game. So hopefully that was fun for you to listen to me just rambling about them. In any case, I think I will leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Jordan, and this is Joylin Sorcery. If I'm not careful, I'm going to have to get myself an enormous streaming PC so that I can catch up on all of these amazing Warhammer games that I have just ignored. There's so many.